Greetings from the Eccentric Man, and this is Hammerhead 2020 and Infamy. We were able to get a game in of the new Too Fat Lardies game, which is coming up soon, sometime this year. And that was John and Phil playing the Britons, and Martin and myself playing the Romans. And our aim was to get that wagon into the fort. We had 2 legionnaire units and 2 auxiliaries, some cavalry, some archers and things like that. Phil had a big unit of British warriors, 2 elite unit warriors and some slingers and some cavalry, and their aim was to stop us. Just a quick caveat that these rules are still being play tested, and this isn't the final set. I sent out into the middle a unit of tribal warriors, and Martin brought out the auxiliary legionaries from the fort. However, John deployed with 2 chariot units, and these are like mobile troop transports, and they disgorged their elite warriors. And the elite warriors on the left hit the auxiliary legionaries and forced them backwards, and the other unit in the middle hit my tribal warriors and forced them backwards. It was a rather hefty blow. And you can see that the chariots are moving up to stay within a certain distance of the troops, so they can run back and get in them if necessary. Chariots. There you can see I've advanced up my cavalry to fill that gap in the middle. Unfortunately, what I hadn't realised, and you can probably see it coming, is that they're looking at bringing out the big unit of British warriors. It works very much like sharp practice. You've got a card deck, and you turn out and you've got leader cards, and they can bring on their commands. But you also have units that are on the table, like the cavalry unit here, which have commanders which are built into the unit. They're not separate commanders, they're just a sort of a unit commander which can't take shock off. But you can move like skirmishers, because you can see there's a skirmish group of slingers in the field there, and they can operate on their own, but they can't take any shock off. So the big unit has been deployed, and you can see them there. That guy is a level 3 leader, so he has 3 command actions that he can do. So, yep, they filled in a big gap and put a lot of threat on my cavalry. Turns are decided by the Tempest Fugit card. So much like the Tiffin card in sharp practice, it's a Tempest Fugit. In this turn, we were able to bring out start shooting with the archers from the fort and use the bolt thrower from the fort to try and put some damage on some of these units. Close combat is interesting because you have a supporting rank and you've got a front rank. Casualties come from the front rank, but at some stage during the game, if you've got the flags, but in this case the insignia, you can bring that out and you can use that to infill the ranks that have been killed. And there you can see that there is a Roman drill, which that's part of it. You can brace yourself for impact, you can throw pillons, and you can also use it to ward off javelins that are coming in. So interesting things. So here we've got a bit of a close combat between the auxiliary legionary, the 2 ranks there, and then the 1 unit of warriors to its front. Both have got level 1 commanders with them, but the British get 10 dice, I think it is, and the Romans get 8, but they also get 3 dice.
Great dice roll by Martin. Atrocious rolling by John. Oh dear.
Is that a 1 and a 3? 2 and a 3?
No, not looking good. Not looking good. But that will free up your legionnaires, your auxiliary, to be charged by the big horde of Britons in the middle there.
The auxiliary legionaries did quite well and forced the warriors back, and they did kill half the stand, and the others. The ability of the warriors, particularly the elite warriors with chariots, is when they fall back, if they fall back enough, they can remount the chariot and they then lose a bit of shock. So it was partly good for the Romans. The damage to the leader, you get cards at the beginning of the game which have certain things that can be used, and one of ours was that when they rolled for their injury to their leader, we could get them to subtract or add some points on. That was it, add points on. So it took it from a 1 for injury up to a 3. But fortunately, John rolled 4, so his leader was okay. John and Phil's dice were rather good. And out of 13 dice requiring sixes and 5s, you can see there, he scored 8 6s and 1 5.
Not only was there the 8 6s, there was 3 6s to save for their armour roll as well, so no damage to the fanatics. And they've killed 4 of the auxiliary
So you're
horse.
beaten by 2 or more, so your cavalry go back 2 inches per point of shot, which is actually not that far.
No, it's not, is it? So they could charge them again.
Things were not going too great for the Romans, and our tribal warriors had been pushed back. You can see them running off there. So I had to advance up my units of legionaries to try and protect the baggage wagon. The fanatics there, you can see, they can springboard an ambush out of that big unit of infantry, and that's what they did to the cavalry that I had in the centre. Those fanatics are very tough, and in the end my cavalry broke all the way back to that edge. Here a random event occurred. John's warriors had backed off, but then 3 flags caused them to charge, and they didn't like hitting the legionnaires and got stomped. The gap created by the warriors running back to the chariots did allow that big horde of British warriors to charge into the auxiliaries. And considering the auxiliaries had had a couple of rounds of combat, they were feeling the pain. And unfortunately, they were going to feel a bit more. Hardly surprising that the auxiliaries did get pushed back. And with the shock markers that they had, it pushes them back even further. However, it did sort of bring them in line with the legionnaires and the cavalry. But it was only going to be a short-lived reprise. The retreat of the auxiliaries meant that it was going to be tricky getting that wagon into the fort with the big horde of warriors there. What John and Phil did was also push the fanatics. There's only 6 of them, but they are very hard. And he pushed the fanatics into the sort of shaken auxiliary. It was realised that the British were missing a unit of horse, so their card was put back into the deck, and of course it came out, and they could use the jump-off point, which was further to the back there for an ambush. And out they jump, and they can move quite fast and hit the legionaries, stopping them in their tracks, buying time. So getting very messy down here. You can see one part of the legionary auxiliaries running away. The wagon is down there. We had to call it here because there was other people who were wanting to play, but it would have come down to whether the warriors card had come out or the legionaries card had come out. If it was the warriors, they could have probably beaten up the cavalry, who were very weak at that stage, and got into the wagon, or the legionaries could have gone on the flank and taken out the warrior unit. However, on the morale chart for both, the British were down to 1 and the Romans on 3. So a bad thing happened to the British, and they could have lost on the combat table, combat morale table. But as it was, we had to call it there, and because the warriors had lost more than the Romans in the combat morale, a very, very slight win to the Romans. A fun game. So many thanks from the guys from Harrogate Wargaming Club taking us through this game of Infamy. Very interesting. The British have racial traits which they can use in their fighting. Further is one big key thing to them, so it can help them fight and it can help them shrug off shock. The Romans have different drill mechanisms which can help them reduce the damage. It can do pilum throwing. It can do different things that the Romans trained to use in war. Each side getting the use of sort of special mission cards at the beginning is an interesting touch. It can affect combat and it can affect the morale table. So I didn't see all of them, but certainly an interesting addition to the rules. What I can say that the drill and the British racial traits certainly added to the flavour of the game and how both armies work. So yeah, it's looking good. What we have here is one of the play sheets from it, and you can see it's the force morale. If you know, you roll on this to see what effect it has on your combat morale for the army, and then you've got the movement, a random event, and the combat random event, much like Sharp Practice. It's likely to change because this is just still play testing as it's going through, so don't take this for gospel. However, I hope you enjoyed this little run through of our battle. I've had to cut in and out some of the commentary because it didn't come out. It was quite noisy in the hall, so it was difficult to record. As always, give a thumbs up if you liked it, or subscribe if you haven't, and hit the notification button. And until the next time, take care and have fun.